On March 18, 2025, Gaza witnessed one of its darkest days with Israeli airstrikes killing 436 Palestinians. Among the dead were 183 children, underscoring the tragedy's devastating impact on the most vulnerable population. The strikes, conducted during Suhoor, the pre-dawn meal during Ramadan, targeted suspected Hamas members. There were no evacuation warnings provided, which intensified the loss of civilian life. The airstrikes have been described as part of a broader conflict that has spiraled beyond control, affecting thousands of innocent lives. The attack exacerbates an already dire humanitarian crisis in Gaza, where the toll on civilians has been immense. The lack of advance notice for these airstrikes has been a point of contention among international observers and human rights organizations. While Israel maintains that its operations are necessary to combat Hamas, the indiscriminate nature of these attacks has drawn widespread condemnation. Reports indicate that since October 2023, around 18,000 children have perished due to the ongoing conflict, highlighting the severe impact on young lives. The psychological impact on Gaza's children cannot be overstated. With nearly half of Gaza's population being children, the need for mental health support is at an all-time high. These children face the daunting reality of growing up in a conflict zone, experiencing loss and trauma regularly. The psychological scars are likely to persist, affecting generations to come. The international community has called for urgent attention to these needs, but the situation remains grim. Observers have noted that the airstrikes also signal a potential escalation in military operations in the region. The focus on targeting suspected militants while causing significant civilian casualties has fueled tensions between Israel and Palestine. The absence of effective diplomatic engagement further complicates the possibility of peace and stability in the region, increasing the risk of prolonged conflict. Gaza is currently grappling with a severe humanitarian crisis, marked by prolonged blockades that have cut off essential resources. Israel has imposed these blockades, effectively halting all aid for over 2 weeks. This has led to a complete shutdown of electricity for the past week, exacerbating the already dire conditions. The blockades have resulted in widespread food and water shortages, pushing the population to the brink of survival. The impact of these shortages is most acutely felt by children, who are succumbing to preventable causes such as malnutrition, dehydration, and hypothermia. The lack of medical care is another critical issue, leaving many children with lifelong disabilities. Despite the dire situation, international aid efforts are hampered by the blockades, creating an urgent need for intervention. The humanitarian needs in Gaza continue to grow with no immediate resolution in sight. The blockade has also triggered a healthcare crisis, with hospitals struggling to operate under limited resources. Medical supplies are scarce, and healthcare workers are overwhelmed by the influx of patients. The situation is further complicated by the destruction of medical facilities during airstrikes, which has severely limited the capacity to provide adequate care. The lack of fuel for generators has also affected the ability to store medical supplies, further endangering lives. The ongoing crisis highlights the critical necessity for sustained international attention and support. Humanitarian organizations have called for an immediate lifting of the blockades to allow aid to reach those in need. The international community's response is crucial in alleviating the suffering of Gaza's population and ensuring that basic human rights are upheld. The crisis in Gaza is not just a regional issue, but a global humanitarian concern that demands urgent action. The international community has responded with outrage to the ongoing crisis in Gaza, particularly the recent airstrikes. NGOs such as Save the Children, Defense for Children International Palestine, and UNICEF have been vocal in their condemnation. UNICEF has particularly described Gaza as a graveyard for children, highlighting the severe impact on young lives. These organizations have called for immediate action to protect civilians and provide humanitarian aid. International law experts have pointed to violations of humanitarian law, particularly the laws protecting civilians during armed conflicts. The indiscriminate nature of the airstrikes and the resulting civilian casualties have been cited as breaches of these laws. There is a growing call for accountability, with demands for investigations into potential war crimes. The situation has sparked a global debate on the need for stronger mechanisms to enforce international humanitarian law. Despite widespread condemnation, effective international intervention remains elusive. Diplomatic efforts have been impeded by geopolitical interests and the complex dynamics of the Middle East conflict. The situation underscores the limitations of current international mechanisms in addressing humanitarian crises. There is a pressing need for a concerted global effort to resolve the crisis and prevent further loss of life. The humanitarian organizations' responses have also underscored the critical role of international solidarity in addressing crises. Global citizens have been urged to advocate for peace and the protection of human rights. The crisis in Gaza serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of inaction and the urgent need for a unified global response to humanitarian emergencies. In response to the escalating crisis, the UN Security Council convened on March 20, 2025, to discuss the situation in the Middle East, with a particular focus on the Palestinian question and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. This meeting follows previous discussions held in late 2023, yet a consensus on actionable solutions remains challenging. The Security Council's discussions reflect the complexities of the regional dynamics and the need for comprehensive strategies to address the root causes of the conflict. The meeting highlighted the urgent need for international cooperation in addressing the humanitarian crisis. However, geopolitical tensions continue to influence the Council's ability to reach a unified resolution. The involvement of major powers with vested interests in the region further complicates the decision-making process. The UN's role in mediating peace and providing humanitarian aid remains crucial, yet the path forward is fraught with challenges. The broader regional dynamics also play a significant role in shaping the conflict's trajectory. The U.S. foreign policy, particularly under the Trump administration, has been a focal point of analysis. An upcoming Council on Foreign Relations event is set to discuss the administration's approach to the Middle East, including its impact on regional stability and peace efforts. The event is expected to provide insights into the complexities of U.S. involvement and its implications for future policies. The regional dynamics involving Yemen, Iran, and the Palestinian territories add further layers of complexity to the situation. Iran's support for Houthi rebels in Yemen and its ties with militant groups have broader implications for regional security. The ongoing conflict in Gaza and the challenges faced by Hamas also contribute to the volatile environment. As international actors navigate these complexities, the potential implications for regional stability and global politics remain significant.